So we are going to look at the Loft tool today, which is just up here. As you can see in the icon, it's got a square that's quite wide at the bottom and a square that's a bit narrow at the top. Okay, or maybe a circle, and it's connecting the two together. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch on, say, our front plane to start with. I'm going to go normal 2, and I'm going to take, say, a circle, and perfectly above the origin, I'm going to start there like so. Dimension this. I'm going to make it, let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's make it 20. And let's dimension it from the origin, let's say 50 millimeters up from the top. We know that it's horizontal, so we know that it's vertical by this line here, so these two are vertical, it's constrained there, that cannot move. We can green tick that, that's all good. We're now going to add one onto this top plane. Okay, I'm going to go sketch, and I'm going to take a rectangle this time, make it normal 2, and I'm going to sketch on here like so. Let's make this a little bit smaller, let's make it, say, 30 by 30, like this. It's obviously blue at the moment. We want to make this a certain distance from here, so let's call that 55 for ease. It's now black, it's not going to move anywhere. We can see that those two are aligned in terms of this origin point here and here along this right plane, and that's quite important. What we could do is we could click on Loft, and we could select this profile and this profile, and it will join the two together. Okay, and that's fine, that could work. But there's a few things that we want to think about probably. We may want to have the end and start profiles normal 2. So that now basically means that this is starting going vertically and then it curves. And then if we do the same with this one, it starts horizontally and then it curves, which could be better because you want it to, in terms of think about how materials join, you don't want them to have a random angle. You want it to be nice and flush and flat. So that can be quite a useful thing to do. I'm also going to show you something else. You might want to add a construction line or a guideline. So on this plane, I might want to take my sketch and let's go for something a bit random. Take another spline here, normal 2. From the midpoint, so from this section, the middle part of our rectangle or our cube, sorry, our square, we can click, drag up, make a few random lines, and then we're going to go over and we're going to join to that section there, that middle part. Okay, it probably won't like these kind of random shapes too much, so let's try and make it a little bit easier for the computer to understand what's going on. There, like so. Okay, so as you can see, that is started from the middle point there to the middle point here along this right plane. I can now go back into my Loft tool, and I can select the profiles like so. So I've got that profile and this profile. Still does this kind of random joining method, which we don't really like. And then I can go down to here and I can click on path. Okay, and edges, curves, and sketches. This is a path. And as you can see, it has now very cleverly decided how it is going to make this path work. Okay, so it's going to follow this path along, and it's got these different profiles. So I can green tick that, and I now have my Loft tool following a certain guideline. If I go back into it, maybe you also want to try and add your normal 2. It might not work because of the profile, so that's something that you can play around with depending on the design you've got. But you also might want to think about the section count here. So the more sections you have, the more accurate the profile in terms of how it breaks up is going to be. You go less, and as you can see there, it's kind of got a random line that comes out a bit further because of how the connections are going to work. In terms of guides and continuity, these are not going to do anything when it comes to the path. Okay, so you don't want to select guides for there. That is for a slightly more complex Loft that you could be doing. We're going to keep it nice and simple today and just show you the basics of the Loft tool. Okay, so that is Loft, very, very useful. I will show you another option for it. If I delete this Loft, delete this line here, let's delete this circle. You may want to add another plane. So if we add a plane up here, let's go 25 millimeters, and then let's add another plane on top of that, 25 millimeters. We can do this going vertically as well. So I could take a rectangle on this plane, which is plane 1, which is good. Go normal 2. I could say take a circle this time, let's go there. Let's make that circle 10 millimeters, like so. I'm not going to constrain it fully. I'm just going to keep it random for now, just to show you. Green tick that, and then I'm going to go, in fact, no, let's constrain that properly, because otherwise that's not going to work. So then let's take that from that midpoint, from that origin. Let's make it, say, 50. Should go black. That's good. That sketch down the bottom has gone red because we have got a different reference that's missing. So if I take that away and reconstrain that, 55, that will update it, which is good. And then let's go for one more on this top plane, plane 2. I'm going to sketch, and I'm going to make this a, let's go for another rectangle. Normal 2. In fact, I'm going to go for a corner rectangle. I'm just going to show you that it can be offset. It doesn't have to be down the middle. Let's constrain that. So let's make that 20 by 15. And then let's have this point and this point. Let's make them horizontal. Let's make them vertical. Like so. And then in terms of, if I take this blue part, move from left to right, so let's then constrain that to there, make it 45. Okay, green tick that. Now we can loft all of these together by clicking on the loft tool, click on the profile, another profile, and another profile, and what you can see is I have now got my loft that's gone circular in the middle, and it's rectangular at each of the ends. So in terms of understanding how this is working, we can see that this is kind of curving around quite a lot. So looking at your connections at the moment, this is all quite twisted. So we can match connections by clicking on here, and clicking on here. And then we can basically rotate these around. Oops, it's a little bit better. So I'm going to rotate this more till it's actually matched up. So you can see there, that is how we want it to be set up rather than how it was before. Okay, and then we've got our lovely loft, quite organic, quite interesting shape. So that's some basics of lofts. You can play around with this. There's lots of different methods that you can use in terms of, you saw that there are lots of different ways that you can basically change the different profiles if you so wish, as I've just done there, gone normal 2. Yeah, have a little go, see how you get on.